all of you. Very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you all having a great start to your day or had a wonderful day. Let's get started with our opening prayers like we always do, and then we'll get into the topic of our discussion, which is 5.11 and the Mind Management Soul Soup series as well. So let me share my screen and we'll get underway. Are you able to see my screen?
Gee, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we'll get started with the opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Radhe Radhe, morning, good evening to all of you. Very warm welcome once again. So let's get started with our Soul Soups segment. So yesterday we spoke that this circumstances in our life, they come for a purpose. And the purpose, they will continue to exist, those circumstances, until we have the purpose for which they have come has been served. And also it is said that lessons in life will be repeated until they are learned. So this is very important spiritual concepts. If something is continuing to happen with us repeatedly, and we think why something is getting repeated, it's a sure shot sign that there is a test um, that that has come our way, which we continue to fail. Exactly the same thing happens in the material world as well. When we fail a class, we are made to repeat that class. So same thing happens here as well. And then today we are going to introduce the cause and effect part of it. Yesterday we said that anything that comes our way, it is a function of our inner desires in the past or present. Okay, nothing is happening without a reason. It is a function of something that we have desired or done in the past. And that is where the law of karma comes. So this cause and effect chain, the way it works is yesterday, today, tomorrow. Like if we look at it, it is a microcosm of the multiple lifetimes that we have taken, right? So yesterday would be the previous past lives. So the cause for that takes effect today. And what we do today, it will take effect tomorrow in the forthcoming, the coming, upcoming life, or in the lifetimes to come as well. So basically, the more we win our inner battles, base that is around our thoughts or the kind of desires that we are making, the more we'll find external success knocking at our door. So where we are in life today is the result of our thoughts and actions in the past. And it's pointless to keep fighting the circumstances and blaming situations for all the miseries and feeling woefully victimized by them. The system or the law of karma or the justice dispensing system of God is very, very just and perfect. Okay, there is no scope for imperfection in that at all. So then, rather than playing the blame game or cursing our destiny or cursing the lady luck in our life, we should focus on improving ourselves. And when we improve ourselves, we'll automatically be able to improve our circumstances as well. And like I said, the more we win our inner battles, the more we'll find external success knocking at our door. Now, there is a law of attraction in US. There's a theory which says that merely by thinking you start manifesting that. Like, for example, if you think of wealth or success, you will start attracting those in life. But it is a very simplistic view of presenting this theory, because the thoughts, they need to be followed by massive effort as well. Okay, that is what it takes actually, unless of course it's part of your prarabdha, where you are sitting and you hit a jackpot. But usually people who wait for jackpots are usually the crackpots. So it's better to focus on our efforts and focus more on improving yourself as opposed to hitting that jackpot in life. Now let's look at a story. There was a lady who led a mediocre existence, but she cherishes a life full of purpose and value. So life meager means mediocre life, but she has a purpose and a value. Now she nurtures thoughts of pleasing God through loving service to society. That is a thought that this lady is harboring. Now, the sublime kind of thought, this kind-heartedness and empathy, uh, that seizes her consciousness so strongly that she's filled for passion, um, for making a difference in the lives of people. People have read during COVID times also, people picked up initiatives. So it brought out the best in humanity during those times as well. So she was also filled with passion and kind-heartedness and empathy for others. And in a short file, what happened was there was an opportunity that knocked on her door to become an entrepreneur. And now she found herself pioneering a new cottage industry that trains hundreds of village women in self-employment. And people marvel at her success. One thing led to another, to another, to another, and then finally she became very successful. Now, ignorant people will simply look at it as a stroke of luck. But people who are wise, they will understand that she got what she merited. So this perfect universe is not a game of roulette that we are playing in a casino in Vegas, where any crackpot can win a jackpot. There's a Taoist saying which says that the snowflakes fall slowly to the ground, each snowflake falling perfectly at the place it is where it is supposed to fall. And similarly, there are eternal laws that govern the world, and law of karma is one of them. But by manifesting good thoughts and by putting in effort, we can, get the rub of the green, which is called the stroke of luck as well, because that draws God's grace. And then more importantly, if we keep on improving ourselves, we improve the odds of attracting positive circumstances in our life as well. Okay, because then we will um, pass more tests than we would fail in that case. Okay. So with that said, let's move on to our topic of our discussion. We'll get to Bhagavad Gita. Today we have a hard stop. But anyway, we are getting accustomed to hard stops now, so it shouldn't be a big deal. So daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. All right. So this is a pretty interesting one I came across. Now, newspaper, its shelf life is what? One day? It becomes irrelevant in one day. And there are a lot of books as well. If you can, talk about them, they can become irrelevant after you read them. That Bhagavad Gita is something which is 5,000 years old and yet fresh and relevant. And to put it simply, it's a manual for human life. Everything requires a product manual for us to be able to operate it effectively. But in case of human life, which is a very complex product, human being, at least I would like to believe so, right? It's a pretty complex thing. And in this case, we don't have any reference manual that we go with. So Bhagavad Gita is one of those manuals that can provide us the goalposts, the milestones, the traffic lights, and pretty much everything that we need to navigate through this journey called life, human life. Now let's get started with our topic. I'm going to recite this shloka. I think tomorrow we will conclude this topic. But today we'll have our last but one session on this one. I'm going to recite it and you're welcome to follow along. 3 hands will take. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindrayairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Let's take 3 hands. 2 or 3 hands.
Sandhya, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe.
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये।
Nice. Thank you, Sandhya. Let's take 2 more hands.
Shri Ramya, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिना कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये। Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Shri Ramya. Let's take one more.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति Sangam Tyaktvatmashuddhaye.
Very nice. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Panaji. I see Ramesh ji after a while, so maybe one more hand. We can make an exception. Ramesh ji, please go ahead.
या चलते कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि युक्तात्मभवन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये.
Thank you, Ramesh ji. Your voice was breaking a little bit. Riya ji, Uday ji, and Sam ji, will give you a preference next time. Our co-host, please make a note of it. So let's get started. In 5.11, Lord Krishna is talking about the yogis, while giving up attachment, perform actions with their body, senses, mind, and intellect, only for the purpose of self-purification. So they also have a purpose. We started this session by saying everybody in this universe performs any action or take any endeavors for a particular purpose. There is not a particular, but some kind of a purpose or a motive. And yogis also do the same, but their purpose is self-purification. And then we went into in detail on how we can utilize the drivers to perform any action for self-purification, as opposed to using those emotions which we would normally use in a mundane or a worldly consciousness. We'll do a quick recap and then we'll move forward in this topic. So we spoke about fear to begin with, right? We said that this is the way of looking at fear, where we are fearful of adverse situations, failure, financial security, invalidation, and all that stuff. But then we can actually channelize fear for our spiritual growth by thinking that, okay, first of all, face everything and rise is a good way of looking at fear in the material world as well. But then this fear of wasting another human life, or letting God and Guru down with our actions, or degrading our sanskars, or losing our spiritual spark or momentum is a good fear to have. If we have that fear, then we are utilizing this emotion of fear for our spiritual growth. Think about Buddha. Buddha, when he saw misery for the first time, it disturbed him so much that he went on to go to the root of it. So sometimes we get disturbed when we look at things around in the worldly, saying, "Oh my God, this happened. Is it going to happen to me as well?" We see somebody near and dear one suffering. If it disturbs us, then it should disturb us to an extent where we are able to channelize it for something productive, like Buddha did. So he did not do chinta, he did chintan, which is contemplation, and he actually went to the root of this misery. Okay, he thought, okay, I'm also going to get old, I'm also going to get a disease, and then I'm also going to die. So what can I do about it? So he went on to the root of it and finally got salvation. So that is a good productive use of that emotion if something disturbs us in this material world, because material world is as it is perfect the way it is. And if it truly disturbs us to see things around us, then we should utilize that emotion to really do something about it in a manner that helps us evolve spiritually. But if we simply keep on worrying and get negative about this or become paranoid about our situation, then it's really not helping the cause. Right? And worrying is said rocking in a chair, going back and forth where you're not really moving. Right? So that doesn't help at all. Then we spoke about desire. Now, this is a mundane way of desiring, things that we think that we attribute to success, or think of as yardsticks for being successful in life, become powerful, fame, money, depending upon the value system that we have, or depending upon what we think is important in our life. But then if the spiritual consciousness would be to desire to grow from within, to serve God and Guru to the best of our abilities, and to desire to fight with our lower nature. These are the good desires or uplifting desires. So this way we can purify this emotion desire also in our day-to-day lives. We can utilize it for our self-purifications that yogis do, which Lord Krishna is talking about in this particular shloka. And then the third one, we spoke about the duty. We have a lot of duties towards a parent, family, country, society, and all that stuff. That can also be purified, that emotion, by thinking of our spiritual parents as well, who are our eternal well-wishers, and towards our family, friends, relatives, society as a trustee, not with a sense of proprietorship that they belong to me. So when we do it as a trustee, then we become even more responsible without having that fear, anxiety, worries that come with a sense of attachment towards those relationships. So that way we can utilize this emotion also for our purification. And then love, of course, that towards family, that the feeling that we feel, right? Special affection that we have for two. But then when we supplement it with a sense of responsibility then it is helpful. That is purifying. It should not be binding. It should not be debilitating emotion where you are becoming weak, or those kind of negative emotions, right? If you're doing it with a sense of responsibility, without a sense of selfish attachment, right? That there's a famous quote, right? It is in dying of the little self that we are born to eternity. So that sense of selfish attachment is subtle and it is always there. But if we can gradually work towards letting go of it, then we are truly purifying that emotion love as well. Otherwise, this becomes merely a that used and overly used and abused word where under the pretext of love we can suffocate people, or we can actually degrade our spiritual journey as well in the process. And then with a sense of duty, of course, because you are endowed with that relationship and God has partnered with you in this particular relationship, right? So when you look at it that way, then you need to perform it to the best of your abilities, with a sense of duty as well. It's not like you turn your back towards somebody, especially when you get on the spiritual path. There's an inner urge. Something tells us, okay, enough of this world. No, we still need to take care of them. But now you would take care of them with a higher compassion. That is a spiritual compassion as opposed to a material compassion where you are doing it only for your own sake, right? Even our love for others is when we were trying to do something good for them, if your interest is harmed, that love will start evaporating as well. But when you do it with a higher sense of compassion, then it will not matter. You would still do the right thing in that particular situation. So these are some of the ways. I mean, it's not all inclusive, of course, but at least give some kind of a sense around how we can utilize these regular emotions, which are usually the drivers to undertake any activity in this world, for our purification and for our benefit. So I think we had a pretty good discussion on that. So let's move on now. The ambrosia called bhakti. Okay. So let's move on and build on what we are discussing on this topic. So heart is impure, and our heart is impure. Now you would say it is impure. It is impure. Yeah. Actually, our heart, if we were to equate it to something material, our antakaran is like an old and a soiled, dirty cloth. Okay, if you can visualize a very, very old and a dirty cloth, that is what our antakaran is. That's because it is currently tainted with greed, anger, desire, hatred, and envy. And if your buddhi or your intellect is saying, no, 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 I don't have any of it, or I don't have at least this one, then it is tricking you. Why? Because you cannot get rid of these until you become cauterized. You can diminish its intensity. You can make it insignificant, maybe in advanced stages, but you cannot overcome these. These are the generals of Maya led by anger. And because these impurities are there, that needs to be cleansed. So God says you cleanse these things. It's like a VIP is going to come to your house, a dignitary is going to come to your house, and you clean the drawing room for them. God says, I'm not going to come in your heart, or he's already in our hearts, but I'm not going to manifest or reveal myself until you get rid of all these impurities. So the cleansing of heart is the purpose of spirituality. Spirituality is not no hocus pocus stuff. It's like just clean yourself. What is God asking for? If you truly deeply think about it, all God is asking for is become good. Just become good. That's it. Become good and rid yourself of these impurities, and that's all I need from you. He's not asking anything for us, right? He's just saying become good, and that's all it is. So when we are able to get over these impurities, our heart is cleansed, all of our problems will be solved. All problems will be solved. There's no problem at all in this world at all. It's a very simple thing. God says you clean this antakaran and the job is done. Now how do we cleanse it? Now bhakti is the technology for that. Bhakti's internal form is Amrit. It is the solution for all these problems. It's like popping in a pill, and pill will do its job. All these things will be taken care of. Now, why Bhakti is Amrit, called Amrit? Because Bhakti has to be added to whichever practice you are doing. It said Yog, Kuyog, Gyan, Agyanu, Jih Nahi, Ram, Prem, Pardhanu. So Yog is Kuyog, Gyan is Agyan. If it is not leading to developing love for God. That is how important bhakti is. And bhakti is nothing but love for God. Actually, bhakti word itself comes from the root, Sanskrit root called bhaj. Bhaj means serve. And serving is a manifestation of love. When we love somebody, we serve, right? So this is how it goes. And the even in Bhagavad Gita, when we talk about, there are mainly three yogs that are being spoken by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, which is Karam Yog, Gyan Yog, and Bhakti Yog, right? So Karam Yog, Gyan Yog, the yog word is a common denominator, and yog is that nectar bhakti that we are talking about. So you add that yog and then it completes, it fructifies. It's like the nectar or the amrit. Let's say you have some amrit and you add it to water, the water will become amrit. You add it to coke, or you add it to lassi or to milk. Whatever you add it to, it will become amrit. So that yoga aspect is the bhakti aspect of it, and bhakti is also called Maharani. It is not ashrit on any, it is complete in itself. If you simply do bhakti, you don't need any other practice, because Gyan and Vairagya are a byproduct of bhakti. They are the sons of bhakti. So bhakti is that Swiss army knife you can employ it to cleanse all of these ailments, right? So you just do devotion and devotion will do the trick. It will cleanse you, it will cleanse our antakaran, and it will take care of, and it will provide you with what you need to continue to progress in this path. Sunday, you had a real quick question?
Yeah, it was just around this goodness. So someone who is sattvic, can we say they are truly good? Because truly good is not enough, right? So, I mean, a lot of
Sattvic,
things.
Sattvic is good, but not good enough. That is the key message of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, just wanted to reiterate. Good question. So some people think I am honest. I'm doing my, job honestly. I don't hurt anybody. I lead a simple life. I don't steal. So so is that good enough? It is good. It is noble and well directed, but still not perfectly directed. Okay, from a spiritual perspective, it is called sattvic. And the sattvic pleasure is a high pleasure, and it becomes increasingly difficult for people who are like living a sattvic life to turn to God, because they are satisfied. They think sattvic pleasure is all that's their need, that needs to be there, be all and end all of everything. But Bhagavad Gita tells us very clearly, it is sattva. It is still tainted with the color of sattva, which is white. And at best, what you will get after sattvic deeds is celestial abodes, a more deluxe kind of a jail, which is a good life. I mean, somebody tells you for a vacation to Hawaii, you will say, wow. But as soon as your hotel rent is done, whatever that day may be, 10 days, 1 week, 1 month, then you have to come back. Similarly, if you do sattvic deeds, you are not, it will not, sattvic deeds do not have the ability to take you beyond the cycle of life and death. At best, it will give you celestial abodes. When your meritorious deeds are exhausted, then you are back into 8.4 million. The problem with sattvic thing is then you get attached to goodness, you go to celestial abodes, you get a better luxury life. You cannot do any purusharth there. You cannot do any addition to get across the cycle of life and death. So you get stuck there. You simply have to bhog, enjoy your meritorious state, and again you are back. So yes, good is good, but not good enough. But good question. I think this is a very conceptual question, and we keep on reiterating it during our sessions, but I'm glad you asked that. Now in Bhagavatam, Vedvyas says dharma which is endowed with satya, truth, and daya, compassion, is the highest dharma. And the one which is endowed with tapasya, austerity, is the highest knowledge. So austerity is a good thing to perform. Sacrifice, austerity purifies. Whenever you undertake some kind of sacrifice in any form or manner, it never goes waste. Okay, it's a very important concept, because God has designed this so perfectly that any time you take on any kind of an austerity sacrifice, you may think, I'm not enjoying, or I did that for this person, and other person had all the fun, but in God's books, He will reward you for that. A sacrifice never goes waste. It is actually purifying. Okay. But bhakti is the key thing. That's the key thing to understand, that we need to add bhakti to whichever practice that we are doing. And bhakti means to serve God, to cultivate the devotional sentiments towards God, and to have faith in God. So that feeling has to be deepened over time. That is essentially what bhakti is. I was talking about that joke, right? This guy who got lost in a forest, and then he saw two more guys in the forest, and he was like, oh, thank God I found somebody, because he was losing hope. And then finally, when he finds these guys, he said, I'm glad I found you after 3 days. He said, oh, join the party. We have also been lost in this forest for last 1 week. So these two guys are the Gyan Yoga and the Ashtang Yoga or Karm Yoga, because they are also lost. Without bhakti, if you don't add bhakti, they don't have the navigation system with them as well. What will happen is when you reach the peak of these yogs, your Guruji will tell you, beyond that, I cannot help you. Now you have to do bhakti. So why not do it ground up only, right? Why do people don't do bhakti? Because it's too simple. So, and simple things are not appealing to us, right? We think that anything that is complicated, anything that you put a price tag to, which is expensive, is better. Right? So much of industry is based around that, right? If you look at, I mean, I was doing that, reading that case study that you just make it expensive and people will think it is worth it. This is something you need to do. At Lexus and all those cars, their assembly line, pretty much everything is same, but they put a brand and maybe a different chassis and they start charging you premium for that because people have a belief system. Anything that is, is in a particular segment or you pay a certain amount, has a league of its own. And same thing happens on the path of spirituality as well. And somebody tells you that you come and do Radhe Govind, Govind Radhe, that's all is needed, or Sita Ram, or Om Namah Shivaya, and that's all you need to do with faith. And you will be taken across the ocean of life and death, and you'll say, oh, so simple, how can it be? But the point here is it is so simple. God has not made it so difficult for us. However, on the other side, you tell, you know what, you first have to go to Kailash, and that too on one leg or maybe crawling. And then you, on the way, you don't eat anything, you eat only leaves, but only those leaves which fall all by themselves, don't even pluck them. And then apply ashes on top of, your whole body, and then get a bed of thorns, lie on that. So if you do that, then you will realize God, after 30 days, you'll say, yeah, this makes sense because it is difficult, so must be true. But the bottom line is here is that bhakti is simple, but still difficult because it increasingly starts getting difficult because here you have to work on your ego. You have to work on your pride. You have to build the foundation of humility and the selflessness aspect of it. So increasingly it becomes difficult, but to begin with, of course, it's very simple. All you need is a love, faith. That's all. So Radhe Govind, Govind Radhe is all that is needed to be done. But for us to get to that stage itself takes a lot of effort. Even when we talk about surrender, surrender technically is what? Doing nothing. But for us to get to the state of doing nothing, we have to do a lot of things. Anyways, let's move on. So Kripaluji Maharaj said that there is something more to it as well. God is also Amrit. So now he's going to equate bhakti with God, right? So bhakti is non-different from God. God has divine qualities and bhakti is of the nature of God. And when we engage in bhakti, what happens? We become God-like. We don't become God, but we become God-like. And in Bhagavatam, Vedvyas says that, when you do bhakti, you will start developing Daivik gunas. Daivik gunas, there are 16.3 verse 16.3 in Bhagavad Gita talks about, I think, 21 or 23 Daivik gunas that we need to have. But when you do bhakti, the beauty is, like I say, it's like popping in a pill and it will do whatever is needed. You will automatically start attracting those virtues, godly virtues. And one who doesn't do bhakti, they are pretty much running on that chariot of mind, which is having those 5 horses having a free hit or a wild run, right? And then they will continue to struggle because bhakti is the only thing that will hit at the root. Other aspect of bhakti is good. Think about bhakti is, see, if you're doing other practices, what you are doing is you are forcefully working on not doing, negating things. So for example, you're not giving sunlight, fertilizer, air, water to the things, to your senses. But the moment it will get that, it may start mushrooming up again. But what bhakti does is burns the seed also. So that seed, in other practices, the seed is still there. You might have made it dormant through your practices, but the seed is still there. But with bhakti, what will happen is the seed itself will get burnt away. So it works directly at the root cause. Right? It's like not the symptomatic cure that we are looking for. So if somebody has some kind of a bacterial infection, so the symptom would manifest in form of fever, sorry, not fear, fever. And when you have fever, you are treating fever and you are giving that person crocin or antipyretic to bring the fever down. It will cure the symptom, but it will not cure the root cause for it, which is a bacterial infection. So that person needs to be given antibiotic. Okay, fever will automatically get reduced. Similarly, bhakti is that antibiotic which will work at the root of all these imperfections that we are talking about. So when you do that, All these things will start diminishing over time, and then finally it will burn the seeds as well. That is the power of bhakti. Now, bhakti has two meanings, godlike and eternal. And bhakti will always remain. Intensity of the bhav will keep on getting fine-tuned, right? Like molasses, jaggery, sugar, the taste will keep on becoming sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. But bhakti ki kabhi purnima, in Hindi they say it is like waxing or waning moon. Waxing moon, it never has a purnima. Purnima means it's never like bhakti is done now. So you do bhakti, what do you get? You get more bhakti. And what do you ask for when you do bhakti? To get more bhakti. So bhakti is like it's a never ending game. Once you get into bhakti, the taste keeps on getting finer and sweeter. Right? The quintessence of bliss is called ras. The ras keeps on deepening as you keep on progressing in your bhakti, but it never finishes. It's not like God says, I have run out of fund to give you any more bhakti and ras. So you will continue to give that to a bhaktis or to a devotee, and this keeps on becoming more and more beautiful as we keep on progressing. Now, Ram and Sugriv, let's look at this example. Now, what God does is an interesting story between, conversation that happened between Ram and Sugriv. By the way, Sugriv was one of the friends who was not a Nishkam friend of Lord Ram, right? He used to think about, and he did not have complete faith as well. He had his doubts, and he had his imperfections as a person as well. Despite that, God accepted him as his friend. So it was not a friendship between the equals, but that is how why God is God, right? He accepted him as a friend and even made him Kishkinda Naresh. That's what he had promised him. So he made him. But nevertheless, there's a beautiful story where Sugri, when he sees that, um, so he was a bit frightened before the Battle of Lanka, and so Lord Ram had to console him. So what did he say? Because he was like, what are you going to do with Ravan, who is so mighty, when you needed help from people like me and my, all the monkey and Vanar Sena basically, to build a bridge for you. So how will you take care of Ravan? In fact, he tested his ability even before, uh, when he wanted him to kill Bali, he wanted to test him. Is he really what people claim him to be, right? So he gave a bit of a test to Lord Ram, and Lord Ram was humble and happy enough. Uh, so Komal ji, why is she getting thrown out of Zoom? Is there any problem going on right now with Zoom? Check it out. I think she has to rejoin multiple times. So I hope nothing is going on. Maybe there's some network problem on her end. I got a notification. So he had tested that as well. And in this case also, he had his doubts. So Lord Ram said, okay, he's having butterflies in his stomach, so let me calm down his nerves. So what Lord Ram said, this demon that you are getting scared of, even if I bend my little finger of my left hand, right? So forget about Ravan or Kumbhakarn, all the demons in this world will die. So think about it. Technically, God is residing within every soul, right? Um, he's the reason why even the soul exists. So he's the Paramatma aspect of it. And if he simply vacates or leaves, goes out on a sabbatical or takes a sleep, that soul is gone, right? So he doesn't have to do such a big leela to come and go through the forest and then get everybody involved and then do that whole leela of, okay, now how are we going to build the bridge and all that stuff he does, right? So he was telling him that even if I just turn my left finger slightly, all the demons will be gone. That much power I have. But then he asked that why you are collecting this army if you claim you are so powerful as you are claiming it to be. And then he's saying that is just to give you an opportunity to engage in devotional service for your own purification. So God or representative of God, which is Guru, they create sevas for us. Why do they create sevas? For our purification. It's not that they need some work, right? This university project that is going on, I'm telling you, we are all here. We'll see that happening. Prem Mandir, it was meant to happen, but they give us an opportunity for our purification. Okay, it's like help me, help you, because otherwise we have so much of inertia across so many of lifetimes, we'll do nothing. Okay, who's gonna give this? Where will the money come from? How can I give time? I don't have any skills. Your mind will keep on telling you that. But God and Guru creates these platforms for us so that they can grace us and they can enable that purification process for us. And that's what Lord Ram did as well. He doesn't need to collect Seva. You think Prem Mandir wouldn't have come up? Maharaj Ji had declared it, I'll build a brain pump. And you know how he would go about? He would go out like doing a chanda, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 3 rupee. He was giving an opportunity for souls to purify themselves. And essentially, Swamiji is doing the same under the pretext of building a big university. Okay, trust me, it's for our purification. It's going to get built. Right? Somebody asked him, are you not worried, Swamiji, that, where is this 10,000 crore or that atrocious amount of money that is going to be pumped into this project, where it's going to come from? So he was smiling. He said, my Bap is sitting, right? My father is sitting, so I'm not worried. So the point here is these things are created not for anything that they want. Okay. These things are created so that there's an opportunity or a platform provided to the souls to do the purification and take their journey to the next level. So notice then, he said, do not assume that I need your help in annihilating these demons. So Lord Ram made it very clear to Sugriv. Okay. So similarly, the lessons for us is that if we get seva, see, one way of it is you do all these practices, the contemplation that I need to use my fear like this and I need to use my desire like this. All that is fine. That will be supplements. But the main doses, you do bhakti and seva, all these things will fall in place. Bhakti, you can do on your own, but how much you can do? Can you sit for 24 hours and do meditation? You cannot. And that is why the seva, when it is enabled, latch onto it. People actually cry and take on seva. Do not miss out on an opportunity if a seva comes along your way, because that is a way Guru is enabling you to free up his grace for you as well. Guru cannot distribute grace in free front. Okay, take the grace, take the grace. No, because you come down to listen to my discourse, so take the grace. No, but he'll give you seva because he also has certain rules to follow, right? He cannot disobey God's laws. So any seva that comes, just latch on to that. And any opportunity you get to contribute for any cause for the Guru, treat it as a privilege because that he's enabling the purification process for us. Nothing more than that. Manisha, you had a question?
Yes, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So, isn't other paths should also be called Bhakti Marg only as we are adding yoga in that, like
Oh,
yoga and Jnana Yoga?
they are true. Eventually, bhakti has to come in, but fundamentally, the way they go about it is a little different. Like, for example, if you're an Ashtanga yogi, your goal is to have a union with Paramatma. Okay, so their practices would be different. If you are a Gyan yogi, you will do the negation, neti neti. I'm not this mind, I'm not this intellect. Then you are situated in I. Who am I? You get your perfect swarup and then you progress to that. So different shloks for different folks. Similarly, different people have different propensities. So they get attracted to a certain set of practices. But the point is, regardless of which practice you follow, finally you have to do bhakti. Or you do bhakti right from word go. So bhakti has to be there regardless. Good question. Now the approach to, I hope that answered your question, Manisha ji.
Yes.
Okay, it was a very
Okay.
reassuring yes from. Let's discuss offline if you have any
Yeah.
follow-up questions, or maybe after we have done with this. So you can have a follow-up question, and that's perfectly okay. Now, the biggest thing, what can we give to God? What can we give to God? I mean, this body is a rental God has given us. He's illumining our mind, intellect. He's the basis of our existence. So what is it that we can give him? All we can give him is, I think that bhajan is there, right? Mohan tere charano ki, and then it says, सिवा दिल के टुकड़ों के ओ मेरे दाता मैं कुछ चढ़ाने के काबिल नहीं हूँ. So the only thing we can give him is a purified heart. And he doesn't have our free will. Okay, he's basically free will is the thing that he's given to us, and using that, the purification, the purified heart is the only thing we can gift him. And that is why spirituality is all about becoming good and purifying ourselves, nothing else. And this is the only gift we can give to God. There's nothing else that it doesn't belong to him. And he already has everything. And in fact, he only has given it to us. So we have absolutely nothing, no means, nothing to offer it back to him. So Facebook, all these things, uh, they can actually be utilized. So God and Guru, they engage us in service because they know it purifies us. We have spoken about it. And for that, they create sevas. Now, the sevas in today's world, It gives us a lot of options, a lot of avenues and a lot of platforms, right? Facebook, you can do video seva, you can do clicking seva, you can do online seva, you can help with cooking in the temple, you can do flower seva, you can do fool, phal, atyadi seva. There's so many sevas. You can do cleaning seva, you can help put shoes in the rack. There's just no dearth of opportunities when it comes to doing seva. All you need to do seva is willingness and that motivation that yeah, I want to do seva, because there's nothing more purifying than picking up any seva. So if it inspires you, join one of our seva teams, or just put it in the feedback tracker. We'll definitely find some ways or avenues for you to get involved based on whatever skill set you bring to the fore. And even if you don't have any skill set, you have a reason to believe. First of all, that's not the case. Still, all you need is a willingness, and then things will just fall in place. So latch on to any seva. I'm telling you, because bhakti, we cannot do that in our day-to-day routine continuously beyond a certain point. So seva is a good way to purify ourselves, and that's probably the only way to purify ourselves, because that's something you can go on to do on for 5, 6, 8, 10, and 12 hours, and it's very purifying and very fulfilling once you get into that. And our perspective should be that we are doing seva, and our goal is to purify ourselves. When we prioritize self-purification, and then again, going back to the mind management thing, we even accept adverse circumstances as an opportunity. So then when we make the inner growth as a goal of our life, then there is absolutely nothing, everything to gain. It's like we have hit a jackpot in life. There is no opportunity ever in our life where we say, you know what, in this opportunity, I don't know how I can do inner growth or how I can utilize this for my inner growth. There's absolutely nothing. Every opportunity will give us that, and life will keep on giving us so many opportunities around it. And seva, another benefit of seva is, I don't know if it's jokingly called, or I coined this term, I call it a crash course on life. So what happens is, the experiences that you would encounter or experience in a regular world might take a little bit of time. Some things will come, and then incrementally you'll get it something else, maybe after a couple of years, and then 3 years some new experience would come, and then new seva will give you a crash course on it. Will come as a condensed crash course for you, with so many things, and it'll help you not only face your frailties but give you an opportunity to overcome it as well, because you will have to deal with multiple personalities, and then they will press your buttons, and the nerve that you feel most uncomfortable with, and then it's an opportunity for you to overcome those as well. It will happen in a very quick time. That's another benefit of getting involved in seva, because then you'll have to deal with multiple personalities all of a sudden. And then, are you able to maintain that mode of doing this for God and Guru, or now your ego is coming into the play? Then you have to really think about it, and that's a great opportunity to overcome that. In fact, I've heard that Maharajji, and probably even Swamiji, I mean, I can't say that, he would he would purposely create situations where devotees have to, challenge each other, and then those situations are created, like in the real world also it happens, right? And then you see whether you are able to maintain that composure and that big picture in your back of your head, or you start, you know, catering to your lower nature. So enough of those opportunity would be presented in the seva world as well. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add something to, you were smiling when I was saying that.
No, actually, a question, just a thought that popped up.
Mhm.
Can seva be done in isolation, like in the present world specifically?
Individual contributor, and it's like in corporate you have individual contributor or people leaders. So yeah, I mean, sevas could be done in a lot of ways. You can do it in your bubble as well, but then you're limiting your potential to work on those things as well, because when you are exposed all of a sudden to 10 people, then you'll say, oh my god, this problem, that problem. But yeah, seva can be done even in a vacuum or in a bubble as well. There are tons of those savers that you can pick up, if that's how we want to do. Especially if we want to protect ourselves, we think end of the day we can take. See, if we are at this level, we know how much we can take in a particular situation, emotionally or otherwise. It's always a good idea to take a little more than our ability so that we go to the next level. If we take a little less than our ability, then we will go down. So a little more will force us to exert ourselves and re-baseline our own abilities as well. But yeah, individual contributors can be enabled here as well. But the key is happiness of the self has to take a back seat there. And then self-purification, if that is the aim, and we keep that big picture in mind, that end of the day we are doing it for our God and Guru, then that takes care of it. In
So
fact,
irrespective of performing it in isolation or along with the community, it should lead to self-purification if the intent is right.
true. Intent has to be good. Intention is the key thing, right? God and Guru, they look at our intent and how much we are putting in effort, and they give us credit for that. And then we get an opportunity for seva. It's a privilege, right? And the good sentiment is, I was not worthy of this seva. You have blessed me with it, and you are enabling me to do it, rather than starting taking a pride. I'm doing it. It's like, have that at the back of your mind. God and Guru, first of all, it's their seva. They have given it to you, and they will enable you as well. It's not that because of our self effort that we have gained anything big. They will enable you on a day-to-day basis, and it's an opportunity they have given to me to purify myself. If we keep that sentiment bhav, then that's a way to approach a seva as well. This is the right way of approaching a seva, as opposed to saying my seva and I'm doing great, and I can do this other person. So those, we don't need to get into that. It's a privilege, and if we treat it that way, not with a sense of entitlement, but with a sense of gratitude, and also thanking God and Guru for giving us that seva and enabling us as well, because they only enable it. Maharaj used to say that when people go and give his discourses, his pracharaks that he had trained, I'll be with you when you are delivering that, right? That much support Guru provides when you start taking on their seva. And it's a huge privilege in that sense. So any questions now? I know we have about 12 minutes, so maybe we can have a bit of a, so now we will have a concluding session tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a cash up segment as well, which I'm looking forward to. I'm sure there's going to be some framework that will be presented for us to make our decisions in life using all the spiritual concepts that we're talking about. So we'll have that, and plus we'll have a concluding session on this. But any questions? Now we can spend a little bit of time. Bhakti retreat is coming up. Just wanted to make a quick announcement. Any other quick announcements before we have a bit of a discussion on what we have spoken about? So 19th to 21st, Swamiji is going to be
Last Sunday, any announcements are there? I just posted a
Photo
link for
Ki Holi this
Polo
Saturday.
Family.
this
I
Saturday.
posted a link.
Yeah. So please come. It's going to be fun. Play Holi with flowers. If you have never, it's going to be an
It's quite
experience.
difficult to me to be there, but I'll request people who are around Dallas, please be there.
Play
Shyam,
Holi
whenever
with Radha
says
Krishna
that,
flowers. Yeah.
whenever Shyamji says that in Dallas, please come there. He says it very, very heavy heart, but it'll happen, Shyamji, one of these days.
Mexico route is
Thank-
open.
Thank you so much, Anil. Thank you so much.
No
Yeah.
worries. Yes.
Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Samji and Sudhakarji. I think.
Radhe Radhe. I
Radhe.
was just wondering myself that Ram and Sugriv, Ram was told, I was told that is the Maryada Purushottam. So he won't be saying anything like that, like boasting or something, even clarifying that he can do everything with a small finger. I'm just curious to
No,
know
so
that.
yeah, it's not boasting actually. Let's see, when God says, he says, does it very humbly. If somebody asks a question, he has to clarify it, right? Now, when Arjun asked Lord Krishna that, can you show me who are you? He asked him, okay, introduce yourself. He was doing a leela along with him. Now, God is obliged to answer that question. So in Sanjay, I remember this dialogue in Mahabharata. Sanjay was saying, he's saying such big, big things about himself. And I am Himalayas amongst the mountains, and I am the syllable Om amongst all the Vedic mantras, and I am this and I am that, right? It's like I am the best of best of best in everything. He's saying such big things about himself, and yet there is not even a trace of pride in that voice. That is how God is. Now, if somebody's asking, he has to answer him. He's genuinely concerned. He's telling him. He's not boasting. So it really depends on how we look at it. But God doesn't need to boast, right? But he answered his question to alleviate the concern of Sugriv. And same thing in Mahabharata, in Gita, during the Gita discourse, when he shows his Vishwaswarupam, and then he tells who he is, which is Vibhuti Yoga, as we will, as we go in our sessions, we will discuss that as well. But he says that without any trace of arrogance and pride at all, it is what it is, right? That is how he says that.
Maybe I used the wrong word. Boasting is the wrong word. So I should not have said boasting. But my point was maybe he all along his life, he mentioned he did not show any his progress that he is like omnipotent and omnipresent and all those things. He was keeping his level low level, just a normal human being. That's what I meant to say.
True. Yeah, but yeah, this is again taken from Raman only. So I think he would have told him just to alleviate his, and maybe with his Yoga Maya might have made him forget as well after that. But he had to tell him, right? Because this guy was getting nervous and probably he wanted him to have a good meal and take rest that day. That's why he told him, I can do this and all the demons will be gone. So don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, see, some people, when they open up Vibhuti Yoga of Bhagavad Gita, they say, oh, what kind of a person he is, boasting about himself, how arrogant it is, I am this, I am that, right? Amongst Vedas, I am Samved, amongst syllable, I am Om, amongst mountain, I am Himalaya, amongst warriors, I am Arjun. That's how God tells himself in Vibhuti Yoga, right? But yeah, there's a build-up for that. And like I said, Sanjay, if you go back to Mahabharata, he says that, and that thing struck me, this particular thing, that he's saying such big things about himself without even a trace of arrogance or pride. Now, God is obliged to tell about himself, and if he won't say that, then who else can say that I am this? So yeah, this is the right way of looking at it. Yes, Sudhakarji, we have 7 more minutes.
Radhe Radhe, Nitish. Thank you very much for this wonderful topic of seva. I had two things to clarify, or even I can ask. On this seva, what I understand is seva is a act where without any expectations, like what you touched is without any pride, greed, or anything, right? And on the contrary, we call service. So sometimes we get confused with seva and the service. I believe, or I'm just thinking that service is something where you do the act to the God or the Guru, but with some expectations, right? For example, we all work in a corporate world with some expectations of salary or privileges. So that's what I thought. There's a slight difference between the seva and the service. Secondly, I also noticed, probably you would also notice, many temples or many organizations, they request, do this seva, do this service, but the price tag, they add the price tag. So how do you say that when you add a price tag to anything?
Price tag means what? Price tag means what? Can you elaborate a little further?
For
explain
example,
the difference between service and seva. But then what is the price tag you mean?
Okay, let me see. For example, there are some organizations, they say you come and offer the seva. For example, you want to do this puja, you have to pay some $300 or 300 rupees or 500 rupees.
Understood. Okay. So first of all, service and seva you're talking about. See, the normal service that we are doing, we are getting paid for that, right? You're not doing it free of cost, and you're not doing it beyond your self-interest alone, right? You get paid for that. So you get the remuneration, yeah, money for that. So that is service. It's more transactional at that point. When you do seva, you are lending your time to an organization. You're putting it out to, first of all, that itself becomes selfless, right? You're not expecting anything in return. You're not getting paid for that. Now, when you say price tag, again, you have to think deeply. The first thing is the people will get filtered. Oh, what kind of a thing? Where does that go? Again, that's an opportunity for you to learn to part with your wealth. Right? Where will that go? If yes, somebody utilizes that money to book a plane, chartered plane for themselves and take a vacation to Hawaii, sure, that doesn't make it if it gets channelized that way. But if it is an opportunity for you to learn to give, sure, why not? I remember the first time I was, just to part with $20 or $50 when I had come here to US for these kind of, would be a huge deal for me. But then as you keep on doing that, it becomes a nature for you. And then anyway, how else will we give? If you think about Mormons, they don't even ask any question. 10% of their salary directly from their company goes to their church. No questions asked. But here, if you especially talk about temples and all, it becomes difficult if you don't tell people. So I would look at it as an opportunity to learn to give and to start with dhan, where then after that tan will come and then man will come finally. So it is a hierarchy. It all starts with the money aspect of it, where we find it very difficult to part with it, and we'll have tons of questions around it. But if you have enough reasons to believe that your guru and the money is getting channelized and you're putting it the right way, there's no harm in that. I would look at it as an opportunity just to give it. We take so much of prasad at temple. What's the harm in giving it some for the aarti? End of the day, it will get utilized for the temple or for some good cause only, right? So I'll look at it that way, as opposed to thinking that they are fleecing money for something of selfish gain or something of that sort. Really, the perspective you develop over time. So again, that's a call, or that's probably the lens we could possibly employ to get over this feeling. But yeah, we can continue on this discussion. We have 3 more minutes. Keshavji, you wanted to add something real quick? We have 180 seconds before the next session starts. And
In the meantime, there is a sawal in the chat window.
Mhm.
What happens when some people in the name of seva keep doing opposite and harm others?
harm others, you have to think about your own self, right? Can you control people? You cannot, right? You focus on your own self. It's your own journey. Let God take a call on that, or Guru take a call on that. You are not here to control the world. We are here to work on ourselves, right? So inner growth should be our focus. And take protective measures as best as you can, especially if you're finding it hard to deal with. And I think somebody has asked me what is the way to bhakti in Navada Bhakti. I think within Navada Bhakti, Maharaj has simplified it for us as Tridha Bhakti, and within Tridha Bhakti also the Shravan, Smaran, and Kirtan. And out of that, the most important thing is Smaran. So if you have to simplify this whole concept of Bhakti out of Navada Bhakti, the remembrance aspect is the most powerful. Okay, so Navada Bhakti, we have made it one thing. Okay, just one thing. If you have to distill, it's a Smaran. If you have to do three things, Smaran, Kirtan, and um, Shravan, Manan, Kirtan. Yeah. So when you do Kirtan, it becomes easy. And tomorrow we'll talk about when we engage our senses, it becomes easy for us to purify, because purification is the key, right? Seva is one thing. Tomorrow we'll conclude this discussion by saying how are the different avenues we can make accessible for ourselves, available to ourselves, so that we can engage our senses meaningfully as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Keshavji, real quick, you have 120 seconds to wrap up conversation.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
You started the talk with cleansing, purification. My take is, my understanding is, Maye man adhatsap may buddhim nivesha. निशिष्यसि मयेवात ऊर्ध्वं न संशय. मन और बुद्धि मेरे को अर्पित कर दो. Surrender your mind and intellect to me. Then he will take care of cleansing and purification. Number 2, the last aspect we talked, bhakti. Bhakti is, of course, bhaktya mam bhijanati yaman yas chasmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gyata vishvate tadantra. Bhakti bhav se Arjun surrendered, and then he gave him this, all his whatever. It is not his ego, it's not his pride. He told only to one person, Arjun, because of his bhakti bhav. And Sanjay was the opportunist, because he Shrota, Shravanam, Shruti, that's what he got. Others did not know anything. Millions of people were there, warriors and kings and you name it. Nobody did nothing. Nobody did nothing.
Yes.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Keshavji. We are clock on time now, and you always add the cherry on the top. So thank you very much for that. Always an honor to hear from you. So thank you. Radhe Radhe. Good night. Good day from my side. You can stay back for the next session. I have made Ajay, you the host. So all yours, and thank you from my side. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Okay, Ajay, Bhai, are you recording?
Let me